Do you have the legal rights to AI music? What I mean is if you go on an AI music generator like Suno, Udio, etc., and you make a song, do you have the commercial and the legal rights to it to do whatever you want with it? Two important points I want to make on this video. One is this is a very gray area. It's not exactly clear cut. Secondly, I am not a lawyer. I want to make that very, very clear. I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be one. With that being said, let's get into it. First off, to show you an example, I'm on Suno's FAQ, or their terms of service. And you can see right here one question: can I upload my songs to Spotify, Apple Music, etc.? And it says yes, but only if you are a paying subscriber to Pro or Premier. In addition, going down here, if you are a free user, meaning you're not paying, then you can only use your songs for non-commercial uses. So uploading the songs to music streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, etc. is not permitted. If you like the flexibility to distribute your songs and to use them for commercial services, basically, you need to subscribe to one of our paid plans. That seems pretty clear cut. So if, let's say, you're paying for Suno, and again, I'm just using Suno as an example here just to make it very quick, you do have the commercial rights and, in a sense, the legal rights to take that song and do whatever you want with it. But this gets trickier. It seems pretty straightforward here, but that might not be the full story. I did a video talking about this briefly, and I got this comment. And you can see right here that you actually don't need, now granted, this is a YouTube comment, I want to say, of course, right? So you actually don't need to pay a subscription to Suno or any other AI music generator, because according to US law, AI-generated music cannot be copyrighted because it lacks the necessary human creativity required for copyright protection. This means that Suno or Udio or any other AI music generator does not have the legal rights to stop you from uploading music generated with their AI platforms to Spotify, even if you're only using their free version. So, on the other end, seeing this comment, which is kind of the first breadcrumb for me to look into this, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I never knew that that was a thing. Let me do some research. And this is where it gets vague. The big vague thing is lacking the necessary human creativity required for copyright protection. That one line is where there's a lot of debate right now, especially at the time of this video, of what is considered that and what is not. And it is a bit of a gray area. So let's go deeper down this rabbit hole. And I know there's a lot to this video, but just going to give you different things. The first thing I'm going to say, though, might as well say as we continue on throughout this video, is at least I look at it to give you my own angle on this. I suggest, if you can, just pay for it. Suno, for 1 month using their regular platform, is $10. That's what I paid when making AI music to distribute it, and I'm doing tests with AI music personally. I think just paying it just in case, but you never know, right? Because going down here now, we have to talk about copyrighted uses with AI tools. Now, this is a post on Reddit. Of course, this is Reddit, so again, always take it with a grain of salt when it comes to Reddit, but this is actually an important point that is true, and that is this. Even if the base audio cannot be copyrighted, AIs, and this is true for some of them, AI tools or AI music generators are often trained on copyrighted works. So the thing it spits out may be infringing to an existing song in its data set. This has been shown to be potentially true. Now, over time, this is happening less and less. But back in the day, when you actually use an AI music generator, what it would do is take elements of copyrighted songs, other songs you don't have the rights to, and piece them together, right? And as a result of that, you actually, if you look into the nitty-gritty, don't really have the rights to it. The AI music generator wasn't really generating a song from scratch that's original and unique in every way. It was more taking elements of all these other copyrighted songs and putting them together. And you do not have the legal rights for that. If you use any copyrighted element from another song or another piece of work and put it into your music, unless you have the rights to it, that is not allowed. So keep this in mind. This is something you want to be aware of. But if you do use an AI-generated software, and let's say it's one that actually more just takes copyrighted stuff and doesn't make it out of thin air, but it takes it from somewhere else and puts it into an AI song, even if in your mind you're like, hey, I made this, I typed in the prompt and I made it. Well, technically though, and this is where things get very, very vague, technically that actually is not allowed. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to Suno and Udio, it does appear, right, it is tough to say, I've not seen their algorithmic coding on the Intense backend. It does seem to be that they are making everything from scratch and it's purely original. It does seem to be the case. So if you are making music using AI software, like Suno or Udio, you should be okay. I want to stress the word should. Remember, I'm not a lawyer, like I said, but you should be okay. But in this case, I think this is something that was probably more of an issue a year, 2 years ago, when, like I said, AI music generators were more just taking things. They weren't really making it as putting stuff together, right? In this case, so I think AI tools have gotten smart enough, which is kind of crazy to say, that they're making a lot of it from scratch. But that being said, this is something you want to be aware of. If you are using an AI tool, I definitely suggest looking into the back end of like, okay, how are they actually making these songs? Is there any copyrighted stuff from other sources? Going deeper down the rabbit hole now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. And I'm actually on ChatGPT because that's what I looked at when it comes to this, is when it comes to like, AI tools and stuff like that. First off, remember, this depends country to country, right? If I go, where is it? Here somewhere, that as you can see, copyright laws vary country by country. That is a big thing to just keep in mind, that even what I'm talking about now, maybe there are some countries, like say if you're watching this from a different country, obviously I'm in America right now, if you're watching this from a different country, maybe other countries say, hey, anything created by AI, you cannot, like Suno could not go after you, for example, if you had a free membership, because maybe AI and we don't count that. Other country might say, hey, you know what? Suno is allowed to go after you if, like, say you do have a free membership, because Suno created the AI tools to create the AI music, so you never know. This could vary country to country, but here's a big thing. First off, some platforms allow users to retain full rights to the music they create, while other may claim partial or full ownership or impose restrictions on commercial use. So remember, I do highly suggest looking into the AI music generator's terms of service. I should use Suno right in the beginning of this video as an example, but again, this really depends. In addition, this is the big thing. Copyright protection, and this looks like if you do want to copyright it or be like, oh, this is my song. Copyright protection only applies to works created by humans, not by machines or AI. In other words, if an AI tool is used as a tool by a human creator who makes significant creative choices, the human might be considered the copyright holder. This is, I think, the big kind of philosophical debate or dilemma when it comes to being copyrighted. Or let's say if you make an AI song and you're like, hey, I'm going to copyright this, or I have the full legal rights to this, I'm going to copyright it because this is mine. This is an article written about this. As you can see right here, it says blurry lines. And right here, there's a lingering question about whether artists and producers will ever be able to claim authorship over AI-generated music. The U.S. Copyright Office only recognizes works, quote-unquote, created by a human being. It's March 2023, so this was about a year, maybe a half-ish ago. So keep this in mind. At some point, maybe they'll update it, because I know this is a very gray area. And so March 2023 guidance on AI states that users do not exercise ultimate creative control over how AI systems interpret prompts and generate material, right? That if you think about it, and this is the big question, if I just type in, make me an electronic song about parkour, is that really human interference, or did I just type in a sentence? Which I can see both sides of this. On one end, I did think of this idea, like, make me like blah, blah, blah. But on the other end, it's like, well, I literally just typed in a sentence and hit a button, right? And this is where you can see right here, the lines are already being drawn. Some artists and experts argue that the process of inputting prompts, like I just said, to determine an output is much of a part of the creative process as, say, a photographer using a camera. Along this line of thinking, AI is just another tool in the musician's toolbox, and what it produces should be copyrightable. That is the big question. And I think this brings up a whole other element of not just, making a song using an AI music generator, but also if you can copyright it, if you can actually claim that this is your own. It's not a clear-cut situation. With all that being said, what should you do, right? Now, this is the main recap, the main point of this video, because I know I can make this video a bit shorter, a bit longer. I try to make my videos straight to the point, but sometimes that's not possible. This could easily be hours long, but I kind of want to show you a bunch of different perspectives of why this is a great area, and two, kind of giving you the nitty-gritty of what makes this such a complicated issue. Here's my overall thoughts, to be honest. If you're watching this, and remember, I'm not a lawyer, just keep that in mind. I'm not a lawyer. This should not be considered legal advice. This is my honest perspective. If you are using AI tools like Suno or Udio, yes, there is a potential chance, gray area, remember, that even if you're using it for free, you can still actually have the commercial rights. Like I showed you with that comment on YouTube, it is very possible. It is very, very legally possible that Suno can never go after you for using one of their songs commercially, even if you have a free account. That being said, I don't want to stress, I don't work for UDO or Suno or any of these companies. That being said, I still believe, one, if you are going to be using AI music and releasing it on Spotify and Apple Music, if you're using DistroKid to release AI music or TuneCore or CD Baby or whoever, one, I do suggest paying for that AI software. I do suggest paying for that AI music generator because the way I look at it is, in general, one, it saves your butt just in case. Who knows? Maybe the government comes out or some law gets put out saying, yeah, you know what? If you don't pay for this membership, you actually have to abide by their terms of service. Or like I said, if you're using Suno, you do have to abide by their terms of service. And if you are using a free membership, they can go after you if you use a song and you don't have a paid membership because you don't have the commercial rights. So I think it just saves your butt. Like I said, it was $10 for 1 month when I paid for Suno. I mean, if it was like $100, I'd be like, okay, that's kind of a lot. For $10, I'd say just pay for the membership. That's the way I look at it. It does save your butt a little bit because you're saying, hey, now you have more of a claim at least. God forbid something happens, Murphy's Law, I have a claim to that. Second thing I want to say is, let's say you do, though, create a song using Suno or UDO. You have a free account, and you're not supposed to, right? You create a song using a free account, and technically, you don't have the commercial rights to it, but you decide to do commercial stuff with it anyway, whether it's releasing it on Spotify, etc. Can they actually go after you? As you can see from here, it is tough to say. I think the human-made involvement is a big philosophical debate. Because on one end, you could argue that there are some AI tools, and I've done videos about this, that require a lot of different technical things. And like say, if I want something very specific, I do have to have a decent understanding maybe of music or maybe of how to use an AI tool. And there's a lot of human-made involvement. And then boom, I create it. On the other end, to look at another perspective, there are some times where I was messing around with AI tools, and when it gave me the prompt, like, what do you want a song about? Or what do you want to make a song about? I just typed in electronic. I typed in one word. Didn't adjust any of the advanced features. I didn't mess around with it too much. Does that count as human-made involvement? And it's like, well, I would say no. On one end, if you're adjusting all these tools and all this kind of stuff, and you're messing around, and you're downloading a song, maybe even downloading the stems, I just did a video about how to do that, and you're then messing around with the stems, like say in Ableton. I think that's very human-made involvement. You do have the legal rights to that song, regardless of what happens. On the other hand, though, if you just type in one word and it pumps out a song and you just download it and upload it, is that human involvement? I don't know. And this is where it gets, as you can tell, this very, 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 very gray area. I look at it very similar to, like, say, Splice. Now, with Splice, you really don't have to worry about any copyright issues, but it does bring up this question, and I know it's like a big debate when it comes to Splice, is if I download a stem or a sample or whatever, how much do I have to mess with it for producers to count it, I put that in heavy quotation marks, as actual production? Because there are some people who just download stems from Splice, put them in Ableton, and then just upload that as a song. There's been people being caught, big producers, decent producers, being caught just using like the demo tracks from sample packs and releasing it as their song. They don't make any tweaks. And it depends. There is a gray area where some people download a Splice sample, chop it up, twist it around, and then upload it with all this other stuff. And people are like, okay, well, they're at least messing around with it enough to make it interesting. But if you don't mess around with it, it doesn't really count. In that case, it's more of a creative approach. It's not really a legal one, although it can get technically into some weird realm if you look at sample pack terms. But when it comes to this could be a potential legal thing. Depending on how much you use the AI music generator, it seems like could actually potentially affect the legal control you have over that song or the copyright potential over that song. This is why it's so tricky. And like I said, is it human-made involvement or not? In addition, people may argue, and I've seen this on different sides, that Suno AI music generator, like say the team behind Suno, is so human involved that they can actually claim copyright to all their songs because there's a bunch of humans making the code to make the songs. This is why it's so complicated. Third thing I want to say on this note, and you may be thinking this whole time, right, to kind of give an interesting last point. How would Suno or UDO know, right? Like if you made a song using Suno or UDO, you have a free account. As you can see, there's a recurring theme, having a free account. You have a free account. You upload on Spotify anyway. You're like, yeah, whatever. Terms schmerms. I'm going to upload it anyway. How would you know? Now, one, there are different musical tricks that can be used. I might even call it a musical thumbprint, where yes, from a coding perspective, as someone who used to be a computer programmer, there are tricks you can use for different art. I might even, or things, right? Whether it's a song, a painting, especially, or a picture on a computer. I remember learning this when I used to do like digital forensics, which is basically like white hat hacking to almost give like a thumbprint. So therefore, Suno and Udio could potentially in the future, and this is very possible, give some type of musical thumbprint that maybe you wouldn't know exists, but it would be some type of frequency, or there's different tricks and ways to do this. There's a bajillion ways to do this, where when they would download a song, they could tell this is definitely made by Suno. This is definitely made by Udio. Even if you couldn't hear it, there could be different ways and tricks for them to use musically that every one of their songs produced by Suno, every one of the songs produced by Udio has a certain frequency path in a higher or low range that's very distinguishable, that they know it's definitely Suno, they know it's definitely Udio, and it's almost like their musical thumbprint to figure out exactly which songs are made by Suno and exactly which songs are made by Udio. It is possible. Now, this is going to the realm a bit of like of down the rabbit hole, a bit of a Black Mirror cell thinking, but it is possible. So how they know or not, right now, are they doing that? I don't know. I actually genuinely don't know. They could be doing that behind the scenes and not telling anybody, where every one of the songs that's made does have some type of musical thumbprint. My guess is they're probably not doing that, if I had to guess. But as you can see, with all this kind of stuff I've said, going in all these different realms and going down this rabbit hole of, is it human-made or not? What about the Suno terms of service? AI tools using potential copyrighted stuff. Here's to me what it comes down to. I think at the end of the day, right, with all this being said, like I mentioned on these important last points, basically, I'd say one, just buy it. Just pay for the membership. Look at the terms of service, though. I think looking at the terms of service, paying for it if you have to or not, is not a bad idea to go. It's not a bad way to go, just to be safe rather than sorry. Because it seems like with a lot of these legal things that are popping up in all these different cases, some of it goes against the terms of service, like I showed you with that YouTube comment. Other ones don't. It's such a mess. Just pay for the membership. Look at the terms, pay for the membership. Make sure that it's not using any type of copyrighted material. That's a big thing. Maybe even contact the company if you're unsure. I'd say the best bet, the biggest ones being Suno and Udio, those are the ones I'm mentioning a lot. I think that's the way to go, because it seems like that they are actually creating everything out of thin air. And because they're so ahead of the game right now compared to most AI music generators, pretty good way to go with them and to at least be safer rather than sorry. But as you can tell, this is a very, very complicated issue. At some point, I'm hoping maybe someone like Legal Eagle, who's a great YouTuber, who's an actual lawyer, does a video about this, because it's so gray, so tricky, and so complicated, right? But that is AI music. Right now, AI music is changing up the game for a lot of terms of service, and I think no one really knows what to say about it. Like I said, Spotify or DistroKid really hasn't given a clear-cut answer. I did a video about both of them. It's a tricky area, and AI music is making things even more tricky. But no matter what, when it comes to you using AI music commercially, and if you want to have the rights to it, always be safe and take the appropriate actions to be safe rather than sorry.